Welcome to Anchor Moments. I'm Gina LeBenz, and I am so excited to have an amazing guy here with me today whose story is life-changing, so phenomenal. He's written a book about it that you can buy on Amazon, and it's so hot off the presses, he doesn't even have one yet to bring to me to show on the show, but he'll be getting one in the mail any day now. And this is my new friend, Chuck. Hey, Chuck.
Good to see you, Gina.
Nice to see you, too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm from Ohio originally.
Okay.
Growing up, just an average guy. I farmed. I went to school. I moved to Columbus, went to Ohio State. Was there for 10 more years. Picked up some jobs, sales jobs that brought me to Phoenix and to Las Vegas and parts of California. And I realized the mountains and the blue sky and the ocean pulled me in. Love to be outside and hike and just enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So after a few trips out, I had trouble going back to Ohio, and I moved out here 24 years ago. And I've just been in the Columbus area, raised two handsome boys. Mm-hmm. And so single dad, did that whole thing, and basically went through a absolutely unbelievable journey.
Oh, his journey, oh my goodness. He asked me, and this is new, God introduced me to Chuck, about 2 weeks ago or so. He gave me a friend request. And I will tell you, on my Anchor Moments page, I'll friend anybody, anywhere. But on my personal Facebook page, I've taught my children, you don't friend somebody unless you've met them in person, that kind of thing. And I'd never met Chuck before. But I noticed that he was friends with some of my friends, including Lynn Harkey, who does a lot with Relay for Life. She's been doing so much.
She's a cancer survivor.
She's a cancer survivor. She's very entrenched in helping other cancer survivors, runs Relay for Life, all that kind of stuff. And she's one of Chuck's friends. So I thought, well, he might not be too bad. So I scrolled down his Facebook feed and saw that he had some different little videos. I thought, oh, those look kind of interesting. And I listened to a couple, and I was like, wow, if Chuck is really the real deal, he totally needs to be on my Anchor Moment show, because it'll be the most exciting show I've ever had. So before I friended him, I actually called Lynn Harkey, and I said, hey, do you know this Chuck Keels guy? Is he for real? And she said, his story pans out all the time. And I'm like, hey, really? And she said, yes, it really pans out. And I said, okay. And then I messaged Chuck and said, I'd like to meet you first, and then I think we'd be great Facebook friends, and you might need to be on my show. And we met, and he told me his story, and wow. All right, Chuck, start with that you had pain and you were taking an aspirin every day.
So basically, I started getting sick, and what happened was I was able to manage it with a couple aspirin, headaches, back pains, things like that. I call it the male mentality of it'll go away, I'll be okay tomorrow, but it didn't go away. And so what happened was I managed it with aspirin for a couple months, and then the last 2 weeks the wheels just fell off. It went from a little bit of pain to a lot of pain, and tiredness and losing weight, and I was getting sicker and sicker. Like I said, the last 2 weeks it just dropped off the edge.
So you were even having unexplained weight loss. Because they ask you that everybody should go to your doctor at least once a year. And they've asked me, have you had unexplained weight loss, Gina? And I say, I've been waiting for that. I don't think I have unexplained weight loss. No, but one day. But when you really, truly, you're not dieting or anything, and all of a sudden weight's coming off, you don't feel good, you're exhausted, and pain.
Right. So it got to the point where on a Friday night I took my boys out to eat. We went home, watched a movie, and I couldn't get comfortable on the couch, and I tried on the floor with pillows, and everything was just the pain was just excruciating. So when my kids went to bed, I went to the closest hospital. And so I got out, and I barely made it into the ER, and told them that I was in excruciating pain, and they wanted to run some tests and scans and x-rays, and which they started to do. And the first thing they came back and said that I had 2 fractured vertebrae in my back.
Oof, ouch.
And that, I mean, I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, who walks around with a broken back? Let alone, how did it happen? I haven't fallen or anything. And so they ran more scans, and they came back and shut the door in my room at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was me and the emergency room doctor. And she said, I got bad news. It's what I thought it was. It's cancer related. And so the spinal, the 2 breaks in my spine were due to cancer. But at the time we didn't know what kind of cancer or how bad it was.
Okay.
I don't even like saying the word cancer.
I know.
It's a monster.
Yeah.
So this was being told to me, and my head was spinning, and they brought specialists in from a cancer clinic that did the actual biopsies, the drilling into the bone marrow for, the bone for bone marrow, the lymph nodes. They did all those in-depth testing, and I was able to go home from the hospital, and 3 days later, they called us and said, hey, we got the results. And we went in and sat down, and they shut the door, and they said, there's no way to candy coat this. They just said that it's so bad that we can't find the origination. You're saturated with cancer, you're at stage 4, and you've got 3 months to live.
Wow.
So for anybody that's watching this, that's going through cancer, been around anybody with cancer, you know what I'm talking about. I had to go home and tell my 2 high school boys that their dad was so sick that he was told they had 3 months to live.
And remember, he was a single parent. He was raising those 2 kids by himself.
Right.
So all by himself, and you've got 2 high schoolers.
Yep, 2 high schoolers. So I could sit here for 4 hours. So I'm going to try to get the important things out because this is so important. But what happened was, when I was told I had 3 months to live, we just said, what are you going to do with 3 months to live? I'm moving back to Ohio and spend time with my mom and dad and the family and the people I love. What happened that week was I gave away everything I owned. Because I'm not trucking all my stuff across the country if
Well, you only got 3 months.
3 months to live.
Yeah.
And the interesting lesson that I didn't think of then that I see back now is how important is all this amazing things that we spend our hard time working for, this house, car, leather furniture, flat screen TVs. This was what I was working so hard for, so hard that I wasn't seeing my family and my boys as much, but I spent all this time on it. And how important was that when I was told I had 3 months to live?
Yeah.
Nothing.
You were like, take it.
Nothing.
Take it.
Yep. So we gave away everything I owned except some suitcases. And the day I was supposed to leave to go back to Ohio, I was going down the hall to go to the bathroom. I heard a popping sound and I hit the floor. And the pain was going up and down my back, so excruciating. The only way to describe it was somebody was stabbing me in the back and moving the knife up and down my back. I'm a tough old farm boy from Ohio. I've been through a lot of things where a lot of pain. This was unbelievable. Even if you breathed, even if you budged, the pain was going through
Just
my body.
excruciating.
The fire department got me up and took me to the closest hospital that I was at that time here in Phoenix.
Okay.
They started running their own tests and they came back.
What was the name of that hospital?
John C. Lincoln Hospital.
Okay.
So I was just happened to be in another part of town, and when the fire department scraped me up and got me there, they took me into John C. Lincoln Hospital. They said we run our own tests. They started running tests. They came back and they said, you're not going to Ohio today or anytime soon. You just suffered what we call a compression fracture. A compression fracture is a broken back. One of the discs in your back, so you got all your discs, one of the discs got so damaged from the cancer, it's a process called metastasis. It's how the cancer gets in there and damages it and softens it, that one of the discs just gave up and said, I can't hold you up anymore. And when it collapsed within nerve endings, tendons, ligaments, and that's why every time I budged or the fire department moved me onto the stretcher, or at the hospital they moved me from that stretcher to another one to go down for another scan, it was excruciating. It was excruciating.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the kind of pain I was in that day.
Right. So that's some pretty bad pain.
It's pretty bad pain.
That's pretty bad pain.
Yeah. And so they come back after some testing, and they said, for the first time, I heard for the first time, because before I was told it was so bad we didn't know the origination, it started in your prostate. It's prostate cancer. But you let it go for who knows how long, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and it goes to where it's fed. And so it went into the lymph nodes, and it went into the bone marrow, and it carried it all over your body. And the medical test came back that I had cancer in 90% of the bones in my body.
90% of the
90%.
bones. That's a lot. That's a big percentage there.
That's a big percentage.
Yeah.
Now I know you've probably the same thing. I have relatives that have passed from cancer. If you've got cancer in more place than one or two in your body, I go and see them and give them a big hug because I don't know how long they're going to be around.
Right.
I had cancer saturated throughout my body. Saturated. Okay?
Wow.
So, like I said, it's hard for me to talk about the cancer, but we know it has a good ending to it, right?
Yes. Yes. So stay tuned. Yes.
So what happens is 10 days at John C. Lincoln Hospital.
Mhm.
I was moved over to Hope Lodge, which is associated with Mayo Clinic. So you've got the Mayo Clinic, you've got Hope Lodge, and then you've got hospice. So that's pretty much, where I was at for the next 5 weeks. And at that time, what happened was, I skipped over the most important part of my whole story. I went through 2 surgeries at John C. Lincoln Hospital. The surgeries were a port they put in my chest. It's a device that carries chemotherapy into the artery. They also stopped my testosterone production because it was inflaming and feeding the cancer.
That's right. That's what the second
Okay?
surgery was.
2 surgeries took about 4 hours. This is the most beautiful part of the story, and this is what changed my life. After the surgeries, laying flat on my back on a gurney at John C. Lincoln Hospital, I remember the room, the nurses by name, everything. I actually started to get a chill. And my first thought was, somebody opened a door at the end of the room and a breeze was coming through and I was getting chilled. But it was like a deep, weird chill. And I did one of these numbers, and as I look back, Jesus is standing right here. So as I look back, all I see, first in my brain, I'm in the presence of Jesus.
Mhm.
And then as a human, I see a brown robe, white scarf, his beard, his face, and he reaches over and touches my shoulder, and he's gone.
So it was just so fast. You could see Jesus, but
2
for like a
seconds,
couple of seconds.
3 seconds,
And then
gone. And then I'm laying there, he's gone, but I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. At first, because I was so sick and my body was shutting down, and I was, spinal collapse and losing my hair and losing weight, I actually thought he was coming to take me with him. But what I didn't know was he actually was coming to heal me. So the next day, after surgeries, broken back, all this stuff, the nurses came into my room and they said, it's time for your meds. Here's your steroids for shrinking your tumors. Here's your bone strengtheners. Now on your pain meds, it's as needed. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, how bad's your pain right now? And I sit up in the bed and I'm looking at them and I go, I don't feel any pain. And they said, well, order something because we don't want it to get too far ahead of you. And I said, I don't even like taking aspirin. I don't take drugs. I don't want to put anything in my body if I don't need it. And from that day to right now talking to you, Gina, I never touch another pain med. And if you're around cancer hospitals, cancer clinics, cancer patients, I had mounds of pain meds on my counter. I had hospice visit me when I was at my house writing prescriptions for pain meds and a prescription for a bed so I didn't have to climb my flight of stairs. I took 2 bags of pain meds to the fire department to dispose of. I didn't need them anymore. So I already started telling people, I seen a vision of Jesus and my pain stopped. And so
stopped. And when Jesus touched your shoulder and you'd had that, when Jesus touched your shoulder and you had that pain disappear from you, it's already after the collapsed back. And shortly after that. Shortly after that. Excruciating pain. No pain.
No pain. Zero.
No pain.
Zero.
And you still have no pain. And how long ago was that?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. He was supposed to die. He should have been dead for 3 years now because he only had 3 months to live.
My family was making arrangements. I had 2 boys. What were we going to do with the boys? They were making arrangements for me to not be here anymore. And if you've been around anybody that has any back pain, I've got friends, either from the gym or maybe from a job, they hurt their back, they can barely move. I've never had any surgeries. I've never to this day had any surgeries on my spine, and you can see the x-rays and the bone that's all weird looking in there, and I've never had any surgeries, and I'm back mountain biking and doing mud runs and anything I want to do.
That is just so amazing. Now I will tell you, so when Chuck went out to Chuck asked to be my friend on Facebook, and I heard about him telling this story because he tells it on a YouTube video, and he was on somebody else's talk show, and I watched that, and I thought, whoa, all right, if I'm gonna be on my show, I want it to be the real deal. You know, I don't want someone liar, pants on fire, you know, just saying the stuff and really didn't happen.
You can't,
but, you know,
can't make this stuff up.
Yeah,
you can't
but
make it
Lynn Harkey, she is actually was on my show 2 shows ago, and she knows you. She knows that these hospitals, these doctors.
At the Relay for Life in Chandler,
Yeah.
on the board, we work together. That's how I know her.
Yeah.
She's a survivor also.
She's a survivor also. But she knows his story, and she said, honest to goodness, Gina, he's supposed to be dead. That when the hospice came to his house right away, it was going to be over. It was going to be...
I have a picture that I love. I was driving through Gilbert, and I seen a sign on the building that said hospice. I went inside. I drove past it. God said, turn around and go back. I went back in the parking lot, went inside, and I said, do you keep good records? And they said, yes, we do. And they said, what was the patient's name? You know, of course, you know, they're not looking at me. They're like, what was the patient's name?
Yeah.
I said, Chuck Keels. They look it up and go, yep, he lived on this street. These are the 2 nurses. They said it's very interesting because the nurses that were on his file, on his case, they don't work out of this building, but they're both here for a meeting right now. Would you like to see them?
Wow, that's an anchor moment too. So you got to see those 2 nurses? There's a lot of hospices.
They didn't know me.
They didn't know you?
No, I was skinny and dying. They didn't know me healthy. They came out, they're looking at me like, who are you? And I started telling the story, and then they turned white and they go, oh my gosh, how many patients does a hospice nurse see 3 years later?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a picture of me and them, and the smiles on our faces, it's priceless.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's insane.
It is insane. And hospice is wonderful. I mean, if you are dying or one of your family members is dying, they're doing everything they can that every day, every minute, every hour you have left, they're there for you with love to do some fun things even.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you're playing board games because I've gone to some of those.
What they deal with on a daily basis, my heart just melts and goes out to them because I seen them sitting on my couch and a tear go down one of them's eye. I know what they deal with on a daily basis and with the end of human life. And that's where they were with me. They were just trying to make me comfortable.
Right, because that's what it's, you know, that's what it's for, and it's wonderful. Yeah. But it wasn't your time.
No, but I did go through chemo. So,
yeah, and tell me about that.
So when I look back now, some of the signs that I know that I was completely healed of cancer when Jesus touched me. I know that for sure because I had some things happen, including helping carry a couch inside of an apartment when we rented to be close to my boy's school. My son slipped, and I'm standing there holding the couch with a broken back, with all this cancer metastasis. I'm standing there holding that in no pain. My son gets up, we take it inside, and I had to sit down. I was in tears, and I go, how did I just do that? There's signs that I know, but I will say this: the human body still has to recover from everything I just went through. I lost 40 pounds. I had a broken back. So I knew all these things were going to happen. So I was still going through the program because in your mind you're like, do I still have it? Is it going to get me? Am I going to be around? Is it a long journey or a short journey? So I went through 6 months of chemo, but every time I went in every 2 weeks for my chemo, the numbers were a little bit better. My doctor was just like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, keep doing it. I went through 6 months of chemo. 3 months into the chemo, I go in. They take a blood test when you first get in the door.
Okay.
You go down and you get they plug you in, and you're in that big room with all the lounging chairs and the snacks and the TVs, and it's all cancer people getting chemo. And it depends on what kind of drip you're getting. Mine took about 2.5 hours to drip into my body.
Okay.
Then you go back down and they read that blood test that they took when you first walked in the door. And my cancer doctor had this huge smile on her face, and she says, I could not wait to see you. She says, I have never seen anything like this before in my life, and I do not have an explanation for it. Your blood test is almost like a normal, healthy guy. 3 months after I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Saying that you should be dead. You should be dead. That should be your funeral day.
Right.
It's been 3 months.
So I went out the door. I was telling people I seen Jesus and the pain stopped. I was already telling them. It was a miracle.
Yeah.
I'm in the parking lot calling people going, you're not going to believe this. I felt like Lazarus walking out of the tomb.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? One more really neat thing happened.
Okay.
I went through the 6 months of chemo. I drove into the parking lot the last couple months. I'm getting better. I'm swimming 20 to 30 laps in the pool. I'm going to the gym, and I couldn't lift much because I melted down, but I put one plate and I could move it, and I was just thanking God that I was there. I was alive and there. And I'm not kidding, for 2 years after I was diagnosed, everything I did, I said a little prayer and I said, God, hold me together. I said that 1,000,000 times. God, hold me together. I found out later from a friend of mine, I seen this really neat video about the human body, and God told me in my head, I already had you. I already had you. You kept asking me for help, but I already had you. You can't make this stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I finished my 6 months of chemo, and I was in a discussion with my doctor because I was getting pretty active. I was starting to run up and down the hills at the park, and I was doing things that cancer people don't do. And I told my doctor that I greased up the chain on my mountain bike, and she was flipping out. She's like, you will never do stuff like that again. Mountain biking, mud running, some of the stuff you're doing now, she said, because of the metastasized bone in your body, you need to wrap yourself in bubble wrap every time you go out the door. That's how dangerous this is. She told me I had a patient bend over to pick up a bag of groceries with the same exact metastasis you had, and he suffered 3 fractures right in a row and ended up in a nursing home and couldn't take care of himself or his family. And she said, you've got to be so careful. And I'm already thinking, I don't feel like that.
Because you feel so good.
I feel pretty good.
Because you don't have pain anymore.
I don't have no pain. I'm doing stuff. I'm at the gym. I'm in the pool. And she says, you got one more test. And so I actually went to Tempe, Arizona for a bone scan.
Okay.
And they wanted to tell, it's going to
Where
tell me at the Banner, which is off of the 60
Okay.
freeway. And it's the medical area is in the back there. And I go back there and I go in and I meet my bone cancer specialist, and she sends me down for the scans. And when I get back in the room, I'm sitting there and I'm watching her and her assistant going through this computer, flipping through these pictures. And they start looking back at me, and pretty soon she says, can you see the screen? And I go, yeah, I can see it, but I don't know what that is. I'm not a doctor. I mean, it looks like a skeleton, right?
Right.
She says, let's zoom in on some of the bone structure. So she starts zooming in on some of my bones, some of the worst areas were my long bones, which are arms and legs, and my spine. She starts zooming in on them, and she looks back at me and she goes, if we didn't see your previous scans, if we didn't know you, we would think you're lying because your bones are perfectly clean.
Wow. So you don't have cancer in you at all anymore?
They won't stamp me in remission or cancer free because it was so bad. According to medical books and things like that.
You probably still need your 5 years or something, right? Is that it?
No, it's worse than that because I was stage 4. I had cancer all over my body. So they're afraid that if any little thing, any testosterone or anything feeds any cancer cell that's hiding out in there, it'll take off again.
Okay, and it spread so fast
But
last time.
I want to tell you a secret between me and you.
Yeah.
Okay, between me and you, because I've had a lot of discussions with God walking in the desert, trying to figure out what is your plan for me. And he told me one day, you're not going to die of cancer.
Really?
And I called my ex-girlfriend in California because she was the one in contact with my doctor and my family. And I said, God told me I'm not going to die of cancer. And she says, yeah, sure. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, Chuck, you're not dealing with the cancer doctor and your family
the reality
and
or
seeing the x-rays and seeing the medical reports. People with stage 4 cancer, they're not walking around this earth. And even if you make it through this first battle, you've only got about 2 years to live.
And 3.5 years so far.
3.5 years later.
3.5 years later.
Yeah. The cancer's gone. I feel great. I exercise and do yoga.
Do you have to do chemo anymore?
I didn't even want to go see my doctor. I had 6 months of chemo, that was the end of it.
Okay.
I was going to my doctor for the last 3 years, every 3 months. Every 3 months.
Okay, good.
Blood tests, scans, any little bump, any little bruise, checking everything out. And then this past 2 weeks ago when I seen my cancer doctor, she says you don't have to come back for 6 months.
Yay! That's awesome!
So
right now they can't see it anywhere.
No.
But they can't say cancer-free until
They
you
can't say
get
cancer-free
have
or
a
remission.
few
Right.
years
Right.
before. But look at you.
Yeah.
That was a hard high five, by the way. I have a lot of enthusiasm, and that was a big push.
Yeah.
He didn't say ouch.
No.
He didn't say ouch.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I'm back to kind of the old farm boy way of, a splinter of,
And you
pain
gained your
tolerance.
40 pounds back, right?
I gained about 25 back.
Okay, the 40 that you lost
Yeah,
without trying, where it was
yeah.
just like,
But
what's going on?
when your body atrophies from cancer, I looked at my legs in bed one night, and I was a big gym boy, and I was still going to the gym with my kids and hiking and doing stuff. And I looked at my legs one night in bed, and I go, whose legs are these? These aren't mine.
Oh.
I melted 40 pounds, my whole body. So if you see a picture of me from 4 years ago and a picture of me now, you're gonna like, something's different. Well, I was a big muscle guy.
Yeah.
But that's not important. I have life. I have
Yes,
life.
you do.
And even more important than that, I have a story, and I get to lead other people to God now.
Exactly. And he has written a book about that story.
I did.
And it's called Hi, My Name is Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
Everybody-
Available on Amazon.
Yep.
He also is doing speaking engagements at churches. He's doing speaking engagements through the
Cancer,
Cancer Society, all that kind of.
Yeah.
He is all over the place. He is amazing. We have 1 minute and 11 seconds, Chuck. I'm so proud of you. All these other tapes are 45 minutes or longer. I'm like, how can you tell your story, Chuck, in 27 minutes? But we're gonna make it happen.
Well, this is why the book is so important.
Yes.
Because the book is
He
really
fleshes out every single
it
detail.
was tough.
Yes.
It was emotional and tough to write, as you know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's very difficult to write it. I did it, and it's for people to get in depth. It's for people to give to their friends that are not only going through cancer, but are going through any challenge, anything that looks like the end of the road, anything where I don't know my way out. It talks about how God can step in and walk you through it.
Absolutely. Well, we have 30 seconds left. Anybody out there, a quick prayer with us. God, please bless everybody who's had that horrible diagnosis of cancer. Please give them some healing. Please take away their pain. Hug them, God. Help those researchers figure out how to end cancer. And God bless us, everyone, including my good friend Chuck here.
Amen.
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 Have a great week, and hang on.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.